using my phone as a mic. I have this new little phone case. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but I have a new little phone case. I'm calling it a summer trend report, but I've also seen enough other like Substackers podcasts use the term trend report. So I'm gonna veer away from that. Summer report card. I feel like I have a lot of predictions that I haven't seen elsewhere. Maybe it's because I don't live in New York or California, so I get a different mix of people, and I also am very online. Unfortunately. I'm also not going to take this very seriously because I think trends are kind of dumb, but I also think they're interesting. So, like, I don't know. I work in marketing. It's my job to know what trends are trending and what people are into right now. And I think I've got some things cooking. Who cares? We're being silly today. First of all, let's address the background. I'm at my parents' house. I'm filming on my laptop because I don't have a camera with me today. My options were laptop or getting like my old family like camcorder out, and the camcorder was going to be worse quality than this. I don't think this is even very awesome, to be honest with you, but it's better than a camcorder. So welcome. They live in the fucking woods, so I'm in the woods. I'm in a t-shirt. Listen, I'm not the person you want to listen to regarding trends, but despite how I appear, I know that I have something of value to give. Starting off, I want to address the overview of the summer. I have what I'm considering the 4 tenets of the summer of 2025. And the 4 tenets are, there's one that's positive, there's 2 that are neutral, and there's 1 that's negative. So I'm going to start with the positive one, because I like to start off with good news. I'm not one of those people that's like,
give me the bad news first, doc.
You know, like, that's not me. The good news is that I think that there's an aura of scrappiness right now, of trying again. I think people are back to trying and want to get good at like a craft or being creative and expressing themselves in some way. In my real life recently, I've seen a lot of friends like start, you know, making short films, or, you know, I'm working on a gallery right now with a couple friends. I'm also working on a short film right now. So maybe that's just me. That's my life. It seems like it's more than just me, because I also went to a graduation, like a thesis presentation yesterday for a bunch of graphic design students, and they were so put together. Like, they knew what they were doing. They had like individual voices. Everybody was very distinct. I don't know if people that were born in 2003 just like have it locked down, if they just know themselves better than like I mean, we're kind of a similar age group, but that like people like a couple years older than them did. I don't know. It just feels like I'm seeing people really sort of like come out of their shells a bit and like use the energy around the summer to like, yeah, express themselves more and put themselves out there.
Like, oh, let's make fun of the girl who took a risk and put herself out there creatively.
And I just think that that's really cool. That's the first major vibe that I'm noticing. And I want to express that it's not necessarily about like being yourself, and it seems like it's more about becoming someone that you want to be. It seems more like people are trying to use maybe a creative energy or this like internal push to shape their life in a different way. I think people have been very dissatisfied, and they're trying to break out of that a bit and, yeah, shake up their lives a little bit. And I think that's cool. That's the positive one. The neutrals are smoking is very in. I think we're going to see a huge return to smoking. I didn't know where else to put that besides in the tenets, because I feel like it's more of a philosophical thing than it is a fashion thing. It really feels like everybody I know is smoking. Cigs specifically. I don't think vaping is even in anymore. We're back to cigs. People have been stressed out. It's less of a drinking culture this year. It's more of a like, oh, people are going to be smoking. Whether I think it's like weed or cigs, that seems to be the drug of choice. And then the other neutral tenet is that I think a lot of people, and this is including myself, so this might be a selfish one, are going through their Saturn return, which I don't necessarily believe in. Spoiler alert, I don't actually believe in astrology, but your Saturn return supposedly happens once every 27 years, and it's like a period of growth and change and maturity. And I see that for myself. I see it for a lot of people around me that don't even have the same Saturn sign as me. I see it in just culture at large. I feel like there's a lot of the themes and a lot of the things that I'm seeing, especially like musically, I'm thinking like Lord, Addison, Haim, seems to be more around like, oh, I'm graduating into a different era of my life, or I am trying to present this new version of myself that other people don't necessarily understand yet. And I'm seeing that a lot also in my personal life and with people online as well. I just think that's interesting. I'm putting this on Substack, so I'm going to refer to Substack stuff, but there's also Rain Fisher Kwan, internet princess. We all know and love her. She just put out that piece about like what is a poser, is that even real? I don't pay to subscribe to her, so I didn't get to read it in full, but it seemed like she was gesturing toward the idea that you don't necessarily have to be authentic. And I know that there was also that Eliza, why am I forgetting her last name? Benchtopia. That piece also earlier this year that was quite popular. Basically, I think people are sort of embracing the idea that whether you come off as authentic or not, it doesn't actually matter as long as you're having fun and you are exciting to yourself. And I think that is a big part of the summer and a big part of the Saturn return vibe that's happening right now. Using Lord as an example, it seems like maybe there's a breaking out of boxes from before that are sort of making people uncomfortable, but are not necessarily a bad thing and are maybe more in tune with who that person actually is. I don't know her, so I can't actually say that for sure. But it does seem like, yeah, people are taking big swings in the personality department. So it seems like sort of a self-improvement summer is what I'm saying. Self-improvement with a side of, I guess, not taking care of your body as much, but taking care of your mind. Taking care of your mind. And I think that's very important as well, because the negative tenet of this summer is that there is a vibe of paranoia and fear. And I think people are going to be less online because of this. I think people are going to be more worried about privacy. I think they're going to be more worried about what people are seeing regarding them. I already know a lot of people that are not posting as much, especially not of their face, that are getting off of specifically like meta apps like Instagram, Facebook, or getting off of Twitter because they don't want to be associated with the people who own those things. So I think we're going to see a shift away from like traditional social media and toward more decentralized forms of social media. So like, you know, I have a Substack, I have an Arena. There's not a lot of apps besides the major ones, but I do think we're starting to see the shift away from those. And that kind of excites me, but it's also kind of sucks that it's rooted in this like sense of fear. Essentially, we'll see. Some of my friends are also getting off of like some of the major messaging apps, going on to like Discord. I think Discord's going to continue to be big. Signal, which I don't really get. I don't think I'm going to get a Signal, but you know. And then also obviously the paranoia regarding, you know, just the government at large, people that are in like marginalized groups, like what is that going to look like this summer? I know at least in my city we had an arrest yesterday, an ICE related arrest. Nobody likes to hear about that. It really sucks. So that's the scary undercurrent of the summer. But then there's this top layer where I think people are trying to make the best of it and like improve their lives despite all of that. So if that's the overview, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. And I have everything broken out by category, which I think is super fun. So we're going to start with music because that's what I like. I think the big thing this summer is going to be Addison Rae. That's the big, if we're talking like big pop trends, I'm pinning it on Addison. I loved the album. I listened to it as soon as it came out yesterday. I was very excited. I think it's really good. I think the singles are super strong. I think the album tracks are very cohesive, but it also means that I'm still having a hard time like picking them apart. The aesthetics in general remind me a lot of In the Zone by Britney, which is an album that I grew up loving a lot, and I'm sure she did too. I think that's really fun, and I think it's nice to have a big pop record again. Last summer was a big pop summer. Obviously, I'm aware of this. Definitely a more toned down kind of pop record, but it's cool. I like it. I think we're also going to see a wave attached to that of like sort of semi-ironic like pop girl standing of some of the other, using a very Twitter term here, Kia Asylum core girls. So like Tate McRae, Madison Beer, some of these more like TikTok associated girls might have more of a chance now that Addison is sort of paving the way for them, which is interesting. I haven't really heard anything by either of those girls that has really stunned me, but I'm open to it. I'm already sort of seeing it online, people being like, oh, like, maybe I should give these girls a chance too because this one's really good. We'll see where that leads us. I do also think it's going to lead us back to, because I think we're very nostalgia-driven culture for the past few years to now, going back to like old Britney and old Madonna as a result of Addison, specifically In the Zone, Britney, self-titled, probably Ray of Light. Yeah, I mean Ray of Light and Confessions on a Dance Floor. So that's my prediction for things that might pop up as like TikTok music trends, or just in general, maybe you are going to start hearing them more like at the club, etc. That's like the big pop prediction, and I think I'm right on that. For stuff that's a little bit more like left of center of that, or is more about like going out, Pink Pantheress is really big right now. Stuff like her I think is going to start becoming bigger. Stuff that's sort of like housey / garagey. I think garage is kind of overdue for a moment. Like, it's sort of like been bubbling for like 5 years-ish that we're gonna have like a moment where everybody gets into UK garage, and I think it might finally happen soon. I also keep getting YouTube recommendations for Rally House, but every time I listen to them, they kind of remind me of Pink Pantheress. Okay, yeah, Rally House is a subgenre of house music that blends elements of 90s house, funk, and PS1 racing soundtracks associated with rally racing aesthetics. Also draws inspiration from pop punk, alternative rock, and indie pop, which sounds very much like Pink Pantheress to me. She also loves pop punk, indie, stuff like that, and you can kind of hear a little bit of that in her work. So more mixes of genres around house and rock, I guess, and like they're very like UK electronic inspired stuff, I think is gonna be big. I've noticed that there are a lot of events, and did I predict this? I don't know, because I read about Jersey Shore last week, but literally just this week I saw a bunch of events pop up for like Jersey Shore related events, so I don't know if that's like a nostalgia wave we're looking down the barrel of, but I mean, that era of music has been big in club scenes for a long time now, like pretty much since the pandemic, so not shocking, not really a trend, but probably going to continue to happen. In terms of like new stuff that I think people are going to start getting into, especially if they're very online or they're a little bit younger, is Fruitager Arrow. If you look up Fruitager Arrow mixes on YouTube specifically, you're going to get a lot of trip hop, you're going to get a lot of Nintendo music, like Wii, specifically like Wii era music. You're going to get images of like cocktail lounges with like Internet Explorer and like old games like Sonic the Hedgehog, like the little chows and stuff. Very 2000s internet vibe. Sounds like, let me just put examples. I think this is going to be more in for sure. I keep getting like reels and stuff that are recommending albums that sound like they could be Fruitager Arrow, like from the 2000s. And I think that will also appeal to people that are into like K-pop and stuff, because the aesthetics are similar and because some of the music sounds similar. And then finally, this is also kind of tying back into the Jersey Shore thing. I think we're going to start seeing younger people refer to music as 2010s music officially, that's going to be more of a category. And I think specifically they'll be referring to not only like recession core stuff, although I think recession core will become more of its own like 2008 to 2010 thing, and 2010s music will be like Tumblr core and like summer hits from the 2010s, so like a weird mix of like the 1975 and the Arctic Monkeys and stuff, but also like Demi Lovato, Cool for the Summer, and Fancy, stuff that was big on the radio at that time, because that's what those people that are younger than me grew up with. So to them, like if I think about Y2K, like I used to just think about it as like, oh, that's music from the 2000s. 2010s as a category is going to seem more hardened, I think, coming up soon, just because I see people referring to that music as such online a lot more now. If you happen to see anything like that in your neighborhood, like people doing like 2010s party, which I do now, it's either like, yeah, early 2010s club hits, or it's, I mean, there's a Tumblr party happening in Portland next week, so yeah, I think the nostalgia wave for like 2013 to 2015 specifically is coming. Moving on to fashion, I think the big one for this summer is going to be patina, just as a concept, wearing old clothes that have like maybe a more worn look to them, like tears, not necessarily like stains or splotches, but maybe, you know, like in an artsy way, like paint splotches. Also shoes with a lot of visible wear. I think that's going to become more of a clout thing, like, oh, you wear your shoes, you get good use out of your shoes, you care about the things that you wear. And also like jeans with like faded denim, like holes may even come back, I think is a potentiality. But vintage clothing in general, whether it's stuff that you've owned for a long time or that you bought secondhand, is going to be the vibe. Also because people don't have a lot of money right now to be buying stuff that is brand new. So I also predict it to be a good market in which to sell clothing on Depop or at your local like vintage markets. If you have like a booth or something, this is the time to do it. I'm gonna do it. And I think specifically for women, a lot of shops are just not really hitting the mark on what people want right now. Like, I think Abercrombie's maybe the closest if I'm thinking about what coworkers wear, but it still does a lot of trendy stuff that is out of date at this point. Like, it does kind of like the coastal thing, and it's very business casual, which is also not necessarily, I think, the vibe right now. It's more casual. It would be nice if we had a women's brand that like did basics that aren't necessarily for the office, but also had like a little bit of quirk to them, but without gesturing to like internet memes or references to other things, which I don't even know if that's even possible anymore, but that would be nice. But I feel like you can get stuff that looks more like that vintage than you can new. It's also, I think, coming down to people's preferences on what they want to look like. More specifically, I think people are also going to be into polka dots this year. The Party For You video kind of, I think, cemented that for me. The general like powering down of the indie sleaze thing that I definitely think is happening, I think it's going to turn more into like indie twee, indie Tumblr. Polka dots fit both of those vibes more. Nymphet alumni, which is also on Substack, is a good podcast, are calling the polka dot look like whimsy mod. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like a mod look, if like ModCloth is going to come back, or if it's going to be more like subtle than that. I kind of predict more subtle, but I definitely predict polka dots. I'm noticing more people just on the street wearing polka dots as well. And like I said, like that Tumblr party is next week, so maybe I'll get a better vibe on that. But yeah, I definitely think there's a Tumblr renaissance coming, so clothing that fits that vibe. Knee-high socks, docks might come back, a lot of plaid patterns. We'll see where that takes us. And then for bottoms also, I think jorts are going to continue to be big. I'm noticing a lot of jorts, especially in stores. A lot of jorts. I think that's going to be the default length for a while for men and women. Moving on to beauty. I'm more of a perfume girl than a beauty girl, but so I'm going to address perfume first, and then we're going to get into makeup a little bit. My predictions for perfume, just based on my own personal preferences, but also what I've been noticing in the street, is that gourmands are going to be in for a while. Even though it's summer, I think that's the vibe. I think it's what people are feeling right now. In addition to, and this is going to be more summer specific, I think, like grassy or like oceanic vibes. And that's going to depend on like what people are personally into. Not everybody's going to follow the same vibes, but those are the three major ones that I'm noticing. Things that I'm noticing are leaving. No more sandalwood. I haven't smelled santal in a little while. Florals are out. I haven't smelled a lot of florals recently. And I think replica, just in general, like Maison Margiela, is going to be kind of considered like tacky for a second, just because people overdid it. People went too hard on the Margiela. I would recommend investing in something else for a little while, because a lot of people wear it and a lot of people are getting tired of them. I actually like their scents, so that's like not a personal thing. I'm just saying what I'm noticing within the perfume community. For gourmands, things that I personally recommend, just because I want to give some perfume recommendations, by Lise, Shoo Shoo. It smells like shoe pastry. It smells like powdered sugar. It's nice, it's sweet, it's very subtle. It has kind of a clean undertone to it, like clean laundry. I think it's just a nice summer scent. I wore it to Coachella this year, and it worked really well. I didn't notice it too much, and I think it kept me from being stinky. This is also a personal one, and this is going to be controversial, and it's not even that much of a summer scent, but I'm putting it in because I like it. Vanille Fatale, Tom Ford. I think this is a really good replacement for fans of Replica, because it has that sort of jazz clubby, like, warmth to it. It's definitely a vanilla. It definitely has a little level of spice to it, almost like a cinnamon. I don't know what the actual notes are, but it's like very sexy. It's like good for a night out. And I think specifically once it like warms up on your skin, you can really smell like the spiciness. It doesn't get like gross spicy. Like it never almost smells like sweaty or anything. It's just like a nice, sweet, consistent, like warm, good smell. I'm a fan of it. If people are gonna do gourmands, like do vanilla. I'm a fan of vanilla, and I think it's classier than some of the more like actually like foodie sweet ones, you know? Like I don't want to smell like cake necessarily, just like the essence of vanilla. Also big right now is Danam. It's a Vietnamese perfume house. A lot of theirs are gourmands, listing some of the ones that I like that I've smelled in store. Matcha soft serve, smells like matcha, obviously, which also huge right now. I do think it's going to be a quick turnaround on matcha because it like had a huge, like it burnt really hard. And now I think people are like, oh god, everybody's drinking matcha, but it smells good. I would recommend it as a scent if you want to smell like that. Strawberry mochi, which is like a nice light strawberry sort of also vanilla-y scent. Vietnamese coffee, which is exactly what it says on the tin if you want a coffee scent. Definitely recommend checking that out. White rice, which is more just like a clean, ricey, weedy smell. And then pho breakfast, which smells like pho. Definitely more of like a spicy pho. Like it doesn't just smell like food, but if that is something that would maybe be of interest to you, like a really savory perfume, that's a possibility for you. Another personal favorite that's also sort of vanilla-y but also lemony, which is a good summer addition, is Unknown Pleasures by Kerosene. This one's big. A lot of people like this one. A lot of people don't like it, so definitely smell it in store before you buy. But to me, it smells like a lemon pie. It's gorgeous on the skin. I think it smells really clean and nice, so recommend that. And then some good dupes for more expensive scents. I would really recommend the Sabrina Carpenter scents. There's a cherry one, a coffee one, a caramel one, and then just like a regular sweet. It's like a marshmallow, I think. Oh, I also know that the main Sweet Tooth one, they're called Sweet Tooth, her line, by the way, has bergamot in it, and bergamot's really big right now. I like bergamot. My signature scent my scent that I wear all the time has bergamot in it. I recommend the Sabrina Carpenter ones. They don't smell expensive, but I do think they're decent dupes for other kinds of gourmands because they're like $20 and they last. So the other side of things, which I said would be more like grassy or more like oceanic, I have some recommendations for that as well. My favorite one on this list is Giordano Segreto by Fornazetti. It's like an Italian indie brand, but it smells like tomato vine, freshly cut grass. It's really nice. It's really fresh. If you like to smell like grass, it's good for that, and I think it's a really good summer scent. There's also Diptyque has Lilifea. It smells like water lilies and vanilla. There's an aquatic note for sure, so if you want to smell like watery flowers, recommend that. I'm so bad with French. Antidris Cassis or Antidris Cassis by Maison Louis Marie. This one's more like earthy, leafy, sort of like a rose stem, because there's definitely a strong like rose note with it, definitely with that like earthy undertone, which I think is quite nice. And then Kerosene also has Walk the Sea, which to me is like standing near enough to the ocean to smell it, but you can't see the ocean yet. There's like a little bit of a powdery floral base that keeps it from smelling like salty, but there's a like significant like salt note to it as well. So if you want like an ocean scent, I definitely would recommend that. I guess also sort of popularly, Gypsy Water by Rado. This one is sort of like a personal favorite. It smells like juniper and pine, which like I'm from Oregon and we have a lot of pine trees and we have more juniper trees to the east, which is like where my family used to go camping. That one's kind of nostalgic to me. I like that one. Would recommend it if you want to smell like a tree. And then obviously Debaser, Dias and Durga might be back because that also falls in the sort of like grassy green category. Yeah, for makeup, I think it's gonna be very minimal. As you can see today, I'm not really wearing that much makeup. I did put on concealer. I did put on a little bit of eyeshadow and eyeliner, but I don't think this is going to be the norm. I think especially foundation and concealer are not going to be very in this summer. Not that they usually are. Like, it's not 2016 anymore. People really have come to accept that you don't need a full face beat all the time. But I think specifically this summer, it's going to be like weird to wear a lot of foundation. The only heavy makeup I can see is like if you're going out, obviously heavy eye makeup, and then at that point I think it's going to be more like melty, messy, leaning more into that once again as we have for the past couple of summers. But I think generally like daytime it's going to be like clean, which is a word I hate. Also on this note, I think acne and unclear skin problems. I think you're going to see that more often in like editorial. I think it's going to be seen as like adjacent to like the messy, sleazy look. And I think a lot of artists, once again, like Lorde, talking about acne is going to kind of maybe open up this door for people to be more open about it and just show it off day to day. I think the stickers were kind of a part of that as well, but I also think the stickers are going to go away soon. We might just finally get to a point where we are accepting it, which is kind of cool because I've just struggled with acne on and off my entire life. I'm better right now, but you know, it happens. Moving into film, also just a personal interest. Cannes happened last month. Those films are all obviously going to come out probably in the next year, which could last well into next year depending on distribution. The ones that are coming out this summer, Alpha by Julia Ducournau. I think this is going to be more of a hit with the indie horror class, like A24 adjacent, but not like broader horror or indie audiences. It was kind of like poorly reviewed, so we'll see. It's either going to be like a sleeper hit or it's going to be like people don't like it and it's going to be controversial, but I definitely foresee conversation about it. I also expect Raw and Titane to come back on streaming, so maybe just more Ducournau conversation in general. Eddington by Ari Aster is coming out in July. This is going to be tentpole for sure now that A24 is like very mainstream. I do also think it's going to be controversial because it's a Western and a lot of people don't like Westerns, and especially with America being as it is right now, I don't know, maybe people are not going to be into that. We'll see. It's also, I think, about the pandemic, which we haven't had like a really big pandemic movie yet, so yeah, we'll see what discussions that opens up. And I personally would have loved to have a Joaquin Trier summer, but that release is delayed until November. No Trier, but we can have a Trier autumn. So I'm also, this is also maybe wishful thinking, but I'm anticipating potentially a widespread like Y2K-esque revival of various like Asian directors, Asian cinema from that era, because the movie Love and Pop by Hideki Anno, who did Evangelion, has a live action film. It's like a coming of age film from 1998 that I love. I think it's so good. It's getting a re-release by G Kids, who does a lot of like animation in the States, international animation, bringing it to the States, distributing it in the States. They distribute all of the Ghibli stuff. They distribute Evangelion. They are now trying to show it in American theaters. It looks like it's gotten some short runs across the States. Expect that to still happen this summer probably, and maybe for people to get into either some of his other films or films that are adjacent to Love and Pop, like that sort of like, yeah, coming of age, bleak, living life on the internet vibe with like a very digital look. Also saying this because Criterion recently did a retrospective of I'm so bad at Mandarin, don't come for me. Shangxi. They did a retrospective of his work recently. He's a huge Chinese director. Unknown Pleasures specifically, I think, is quite similar to Love and Pop in some ways and has a very relevant vibe to now. It's about like young people who like are drifting unemployed and feel very like left behind by like living in a suburb that has like a huge wealth gap against like the city. I really liked it, and I think if some of these other films like that continue to gain traction with Criterion and with distribution companies, it could be interesting to see if those kinds of vibes come back, just as like Instagram posts or like people kind of like putting them on Pinterest or something. I don't know. We'll see. But some other films that fit with this vibe, there's like All About Lily Shushu, which has been big on Twitter and Tumblr for a long time. Take Care of My Cat is a Korean film that's about girls that are friends. Millennium Mambo, Taipei Story, I think all kind of fit this vibe that like stills from those get posted a lot, and it would be interesting to see if those trends kind of continue in that direction. Last one, books. I'm expecting continued dominance of romantasy. It's huge. It's not going anywhere. It's all my coworkers read. It is big. It's huge. I also think that there's an unfortunate backlash to like the concept of like the thought daughter, just because Substack is so big and that's all anybody talks about on there is like, I read Didion, I read Babbitt's, Sylvia Plath and the Fig Tree. And it's like, yeah, it's annoying, but I think people are starting to get like, actually like, I don't want to read this anymore because the people who like it are so annoying. I think those books will be kind of out this summer, but if you're into that kind of vibe, it does seem like there are a couple books that are gaining traction. I Who've Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman is huge right now. It's like all I see online right now. If people are recommending books. I also know people in real life that are reading it, if that counts for anything. It seems like a lot of older rediscoveries are gaining traction. Some writers like Magda Sabo, whose book Abigail I just read and really loved, Clarice Lispector and Banana Yashimoto are huge right now. I see their books on lots of different lists on Reels, TikTok, Twitter. For newer stuff, there's also the Sayaka Murata book, Vanishing World, that just came out. We'll see if that gains any traction. I know it brought a lot of attention back to convenience store women, so at least that I picture being on a couple beach read lists, even though it's not really a beach read. That's what I foresee being in, I guess. I do also have an out list that I'm going to just go through really quickly because I put it together and I'm already here. General vibe stuff, Brat Summer, out. Sorry, I wore something that's out in this video, so should you even listen to me? I don't know. People just can't. They lost the plot on it. It's been overdone. Obviously, Charlie can continue doing what she's gonna do, and I think that that's great, and I'm gonna love it regardless. I'm a Charlie girl for life, but for the broader public, I think it's over. And also the concept of an homage is a general vibe thing that I think is gonna be out, especially for advertising. I've been noticing Haim getting a decent amount of backlash for their 2000s paparazzi photo recreations for their single covers for their new album. I think it ties into something else I'm gonna say in my out list about some clothing brands. I just think people want to see something new. They're tired of red carpet recreations of other red carpet things that happened 20 to 30 years ago. It's not going to be very cool anymore. People want to see original stuff. Originality might be back soon if people can actually get it together. I'm also predicting that Haim and Lorde probably won't hit with the general populace. I think Lorde's tour is obviously going to do very well, but I think the album is going to be weirder than people are anticipating, and it's not going to work for a lot of people. So we'll see how that plays out. But that is my hot take. I think that's what's gonna happen. So, especially because she's been so open about it being kind of weird in interviews, and herself leaning into being more weird and edgy in interviews, with that Pamela Anderson watching the sex tape thing, which I personally don't really care, but it did rub a lot of people the wrong way. I'm predicting a weird summer for Lorde, so that's an unfortunate one. I didn't want to have to say that, guys, but here we are. And also, likewise with pop music, I think the girls that were big last year probably won't have any big hits this summer, even if they release them. I know Sabrina Carpenter released one yesterday, and it's already hitting weird. People are I'm tired of the sound, I'm tired of this, especially because Addison came out and sounds a lot more fresh. Until the next eras for those pop stars are really actually rolling out, people are going to be pretty tired of the current thing. You hate to see someone get womaned, but here we are. Fashion wise, predicting the big one, I've been seeing this a lot of places, YouTube video essays, TikTok essays, etc. Tattoos are out. People are not getting tattoos. I predict that continuing to be a trend for a while. Likewise, I think being nude is going to be more in. This has been a big thing for a while, and I think people are really going to lean into it this summer. It's actually going to hit the general populace, just not wearing a lot and wearing nude colors, looking naked even if you're not actually naked. People are really feeling empty canvas. I don't know what that says about us. I have no way to read that besides just pushing boundaries, but then the tattoo thing is anti-pushing boundaries, so I don't know. I mean, tattoos were a really big trend for a while, and I think especially for my generation, a lot of people got sticker tattoos, literal stick and poke sticker tattoos. And maybe the next couple years of people are just not into that. Maybe people got tired of the tattoos that they got. I don't know. It is interesting to me, but I think tattoos are kind of out. Brand-wise, definitely thinking a lot of the streetwear, quirky, ironic brands are going to be out soon for maybe forever. Praying in Heaven specifically, it's done. If I see a God's Favorite t-shirt out in public, I feel weird and bad. The stuff they make isn't even cute anymore for both brands. And I think a lot of these brands that are once again more ironic, especially about Catholic imagery, which both of them are. We have a new pope. I'm going somewhere with this. We have a new pope, and I think it was a reminder that Catholicism is a real thing. And maybe people are wait, why am I playing with this? Why am I making this a vibe when it's actually just a serious, boring thing? Just really don't see streetwear being big, and slogan t-shirts and ironic phrases being big. I think we're kind of moving out of an ironic phase as well. probably part of this. And once again, it goes back to my referencing thing. Like, everything Heaven does is like a reference to another thing. Like, they'll put like a movie from the 2000s on like a skirt, or they'll reference like just today like 13 in an ad, but it's like 2 adult women, and you're like removing the context of the movie in the ad. Like, it's just, you're just using it as an aesthetic, and it's like very boring to me. It's brainless. It sucks. So definitely predicting that those things will be gone soon. And then just trend wise in general, the coastal trend, as I mentioned, like oysters, crabs, lemons, living on the Mediterranean, it's done. It's been played out. A lot of brands are still pushing this, and I don't honestly mind it. I have a tomato case. Like, obviously I don't care that much. I'm tired of seeing it everywhere. Yeah, as a broader trend, very boring. I've seen a lot of bad t-shirts recently, so. And then my last one, sparkly eyeshadows out. No one does that anymore. No one's gonna be doing that this summer, unless it's silver. Silver's the exception, but that's also just putting glitter on your eyes at that point, you know? It's not like an actual eyeshadow. Those are my ins and outs for the summer. Let me know what you think. This was just me having a silly time because I'm really bored. There's a dog peeing behind me. If you have any thoughts on this, definitely let me know. I'm posting this on Substack and YouTube, so I'll be reading comments. Yeah, I'll see you around. I have an essay on the way. All right, bye.